Hello and welcome to this ECTRIMS session on the most recent ECTRIMS scientific activities. Today we are going to cover a range of topics, including the guideline on DMTs, which was jointly developed with EAN, our survey on the impact of COVID-19 on MS care, our current effort to develop a European guideline for vaccination in MS, and so much more. On behalf of ECTRIMS Executive Board, I would like to thank EAN for this great opportunity to share these exciting news with you today.
The ECTRIMS focused workshops provide a forum of international multidisciplinary experts in order to facilitate discussion and interaction on emerging issues in MS and related disorders. The outcomes are usually published in internationally recognized and peer-reviewed journals. The workshop on aggressive MS was held in Brussels in 2018 and resulted in 2 companion papers. Using a working definition, aggressive MS or highly active MS may represent a subgroup of MS patients with frequent severe relapses and incomplete recovery who are at higher risk of developing permanent disability early in their disease course. These patients have a narrow window of therapeutic opportunity and may benefit from starting early with highly efficacious treatments. We identified a number of red flags for aggressive MS. Unfortunately, it was not possible to come to consensus on a definition because of unavailable data correlating severe disease with imaging or molecular biomarkers. Regarding therapy, comparative studies in people with MS have shown a superiority of monoclonal antibodies over oral DMDs. Autologous hematopoietic stem cell transplantation is still considered experimental in MS, with the need to document a sound risk-benefit profile in a well-defined target population of patients. Importantly, a workshop on bone marrow transplantation in collaboration with the EAN is planned for 2022. In 2019, Athens hosted our workshop on MOGAD, myelin oligodendrocyte glycoprotein antibody-associated disorders. MOGAD have been widely recognized as a distinct clinical entity only in the last decade. The clinical spectrum of MOGAD has expanded to include, beyond the neuromyelitis optica, also brainstem and cortical encephalitis, and in young children, the most frequent presentation is acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. Result of the workshop was an international online survey on treatment approaches to MOGAD involving worldwide expert adult and pediatric neurologists from 22 countries. Overall, the treatment approaches, and particularly the use of steroid-sparing maintenance therapies, appear to be highly variable among neurologists, which calls for consensus-based treatment guidelines while waiting for definitive evidence from clinical trials.
We have learned in recent years about the importance of early treatment and also about the timely use of highly efficacy drugs. However, this can also be associated with a higher risk of infections. To face this new challenge, ECTRIMS has organized the 8th ECTRIMS Focus Workshop on the risk of infections with the different immunomodulated drugs. We also wanted to specifically address which is the risk of infections in pregnant women or in children or in the elderly. And we also wanted to have a more broader look, not only Europe, but also looking at what is the risk of infection in different populations, such as in India or in Latin America or in Middle East. This workshop had to be held in Tel Aviv, in fact, in 2020. But of course, the pandemic has changed everything, and we had to postpone it until 2021 and to held it virtually. And of course, we had to address which is the impact of COVID for our patients, which is the impact of the infections in the different treatments they are receiving. Finally, we had also an important section on prevention strategy, focusing on vaccination. All these important recommendations that will for sure change our daily practice will be summarized in an important paper.
The ECTRIMS EAN guideline on pharmacological treatment of people with MS was published in early 2018. Since then, several randomized controlled trials on new agents, as well as high-quality observational studies on old disease-modifying drugs have been published. This is why the steering committee considers it's a good time to incorporate such evidence in an updated version of the guideline, hopefully again in a joint venture with the EAN, again using the GRADE methodology. A steering committee has been defined, chaired by Professor Xavier Montalban and myself. The clinical questions are divided into two types. First, a set of core questions covering a range of topics relevant for the therapeutic strategy in patients with MS that are the same or slightly modified questions included in the previous guideline, and a set of practical questions covering topics that we usually encounter in our daily clinical practice. The kickoff meeting took place in February. Analysis of the results and publication should be finalized by October 2021, and we do trust to be able to present some results during the next ECTRIMS Congress. Between March and July 2020, the ECTRIMS promoted an international online survey covering patient access to care and overall experience with COVID-19. 360 MS neurologists from 52 countries completed the survey. Most of them reported COVID-19 related restrictions. Telemedicine was largely adopted, but in most cases it had to be newly activated or widely implemented. Notably, 70% of MS neurologists reported changes in the use of DMDs. On the other hand, neurologists' attitudes are likely to change as the situation evolves and further evidence is provided by observational and experimental studies. In conclusion, the ECTRIMS survey highlighted the challenges in keeping previous standard of care in clinical practice. The pandemic has accelerated our need to incorporate telemedicine in routine clinical practice. And lastly, gathering large data sets on the safety of different DMDs will remain critical to inform evidence-based treatment decisions.
MS natural history is changing in recent years, and this is at least partially due to the use of highly active immunotherapeutic drugs. However, this wider use of highly active immunosuppressive treatments is also associated with a higher risk of infections. To face these infections, ECTRIMS and EAN have decided to go for a European consensus on vaccinations in patients with MS. The questions we would like to address are: which are the safety of vaccines in our patients with MS? Which is the effectiveness of vaccines according to the different treatments? And also we want to address which are the specific vaccination strategies in children, in pregnant women, in elderly patients, and in international travelers. This is the working group where you can see experts from all over Europe, and we will have also external reviewers and advisors from patient representatives also experts from the infectious disease field or from vaccination field. Our aim is to reach this formal consensus on vaccination and to be able to present the results during the next ECTRIMS 2021 meeting. Of course, these important recommendations will also be shown in a manuscript, which I am sure will change our daily practice.
Alongside the annual meeting, one of the major activities of ECTRIMS is the sponsoring of fellowships. These fellowships cover a variety of specialisms and are designed to give young clinicians and nurses the chance to get an insight into the clinical work in MS excellence centers throughout Europe. It is planned to extend this fellowship program also to other specialties such as physiotherapists and psychologists. Postdoctoral fellowships were devised to boost the career of promising young scientists, but also to foster MS-related basic and clinical research in a European lab. Over the last 15 years, ECTRIMS was able to sponsor nearly 100 fellowships. Numerous scientific publications arose from these fellowships, and new collaborations between labs could be established. Many fellows brought their clinical knowledge back to their home institutions and established their own MS clinics. The fellowship program thereby fulfills the major goals of ECTRIMS, namely to support basic and clinical research in MS in Europe and to support education and teaching for professionals. Another pillar of ECTRIMS teaching activities are the teaching courses at the annual meetings. Designed to provide suitable content not only for newcomers in the clinic, but also updates for experts providing the latest knowledge in clinical care of MS patients. The courses are given by world experts in their respective field of expertise and can be accessed throughout the year through the ECTRIMS online library. With this year's meeting, we will introduce a new concept in our teaching activities. Since the scientific program is always very dense and in competition with the educational program, we will extend the teaching courses into the weeks after ECTRIMS. To enable a greater focus and offer participants the opportunity to zoom in on a certain area and to further improve their knowledge and clinical skills, the program will be divided into 4 tracks, covering pathology, clinical and differential diagnosis, and therapeutics. This is the pilot for how we see things developing in the future, helping people focus on the topics they are most interested in, enabling participants to tailor their agenda to get the most from these activities. Maybe you have realized during these presentations that there are so many new facets to ECTRIMS you were not aware of before. In a world where knowledge can be gathered quite easily, it is nevertheless of utmost importance to have a trustable source of knowledge. In a world where you are confronted by a mass of information, it is essential that someone selects the important pieces for you. ECTRIMS has been this reliable source of information during the last decades. In a world where everything is moving so quickly and where so much great work is done by so many people, it is really important to have someone who can connect you with the right people at the right time, to help you move forward or to enable you to support others. ECTRIMS is there to connect you to the scientific world of MS. We always strive to improve our programs in the different areas and adapt it to your needs. This is not possible without your input. We are open for your new ideas, how the annual meeting, the teaching courses, the focused workshops, the summer schools and the fellowship program can be further improved. ECTRIMS thrives because of you, and ECTRIMS is there to support you in your daily life as clinician and researcher with the final goal to improve the life of people affected by MS. Please join us in one or the other of our activities. We thank you for your continuing support and interest.